So we'll record. Okay. So yeah, this little video is going to be about what frequently happens, it seems, that people who are brave enough, like Hannah.
Brave enough or stupid enough. Probably a bit of both. A bit of both. Well, you know, I'd love to bring Stuart here in here, because I really liked what Stuart said. Stuart, could you just repeat that last share that you did? Because I thought that was really, really, really succinct.
Okay.
Put him on the spot.
I'll try and repeat it. Basically, I think we have to acknowledge that we're in a very unusual situation in these times, and there's lots of people are putting their head up above the parapet trying to solve, you know, come up with answers. It's easy to shoot people down. It's far easier to sort of have a pop at people and criticize than it is to investigate. Take your time, be sure of what you're saying, because it can be so damaging to our cause, to the cause of righteousness, to the cause of right, to the cause of the light.
Yeah.
And we need to be aware that the main weapon of the dark forces, who we're against, who are trying to depopulate the world, is to use division. Division is one of their main weapons. They've used it for thousands of years in all sorts of scenarios, and they love it. They love to split the forces of good. Now, so if we are on the side of good, then we need to be aware how damaging it can be. None of us is perfect. We've all got things that can be criticized, but I think we need to look at, I think it was some master who said, you know, look at the, how to judge a man or a woman by the overall good they do. And
I think that's true. And I think that's very true. Yeah.
Investigation before condemnation, because somebody might just have talked to one or two people and heard one side of a story, but it's like anything. I mean, you can jump on that little bit, or you can actually be, we're required at the moment to be very, very open-minded and to really be expansive in our understanding of things. And what might be apparent to a quick view as something which isn't good, actually in further investigation could be a very, very good thing indeed. It's like there's been talk of, you know, for example, the community law courts, that one of the things about the community law courts is it's not a randomly selected jury. Well, if you're holding a community law court and there's 30 people who walk in through the door and you need a jury of 13, your jury is likely to come out of those those people who've come in through the door.
Well, I think anyone complaining should turn up themselves and make themselves available, and then
do it better.
And it's also on the point of sniping at people. I think it's good, before you have a go at someone, to examine your own motives, because it is a thing that people get juice from criticizing others and causing rumors and whispers about people. You know, there's a lot of that goes on in the world, and we need to be aware that if we're going to be part of a movement that's going to correct things, we need to up our game and come from the highest places, so that we're not sort of buying into that sort of thing. We need to put that to one side and come from our highest aspirations.
Leave the drama to the sitcoms. I think that's right.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you sort of my kind of view on what you guys are sharing, which is this. as you both know, it was many decades ago that I did my law degree, and it was my second degree. My first degree is in performance art, and you know, I came to this. It has been for me a very spiritual calling, and it was not something that I had I had no interest in doing it at all. I was quite happy doing my outrageous performance art. I had a couple of books. I was doing shows. You know, I was quite comfortable in my life. But then COVID hit, and everything went tits up, and you know, all my bookings were cancelled for my shows and all sorts of things. And I found myself in a situation where, you know, I was looking at potential issues around my sons and the council, and a need to protect myself and my sons, which took me to John Little over in Canada, who taught me natural law. And when the penny dropped on the difference between calling oneself Mrs. versus a woman, I was absolutely gobsmacked, because I was completely indoctrinated in the legalese system. Now, since that time, as you, well, I know Catherine now has a fairly good kind of understanding of the story and how I came to create the community law courts. But before I get there, I'm just going to first of all address the issue. Anyone can take a moment in time and completely tear it apart in that moment of time's context. And as Stuart has clearly pointed out, people need to, first of all, identify their own motives, their own level of knowledge and understanding of any document they are surveying, and what that actually means to them, whether they even understand it at all. And they need to also look at the big picture. So I'm 100% in agreement with you on all of that. And then the second thing is with regards to the community law courts. The community law courts, people are in the legalese courts, which, as we know, are completely corrupt. They are businesses. They basically, they postcode cherry pick. So they will go for middle class when they're dealing with a robber, and they'll get people from the middle class area because they know that they'll get a really good sentence out of them, because they'll all be, you know, horrified that this ugly looking fella, you know, down on his luck, has went and stole somebody's jewels, you know, that kind of thing. So that, in fact, is not really, what was the word that you used?
Randomly
kind
selected
of, you know,
jury?
like a kind of random was the word. Yeah, randomly selected jury. Now, because we are a community law court and we are run by the people, and we don't have all the resources that the really corrupt courts, which are courts of business, have, we have to rely on outreach. And when we reach out to people and they walk through the door, we don't know who they are. Some of them we might recognize, some of them we might not. It doesn't matter, because, and I keep saying this, and it's so annoying when people keep raising it, and it just annoys the hell out of me that people are so stupid that they keep holding on to this idea that if somebody's been on a jury in the community law court, they can't ever go on the jury again. It's utter bollocks, because every case, every claim is different.
Yes.
And you can go on in a business court's jury many times, because it's a different case. So, you know, the facts are tried for the first time. It doesn't matter if you've attended 2 or 3 prior juries. And the trial by jury members are there to test the evidence, to ask the questions, and to uphold or not the orders. I mean, in terms of due process.
Yeah, can I just interject there, Hannah, that I think that you are in a position of educating people. This kind of video is for educational purposes. And because you have been involved with this, you're like, you know what works and what's practical and what doesn't. And you're in a position of mentoring people who have had the hell shocked out of them, who've had the been psychologically bullied for the last 3 years nearly, and before,
or
and
longer.
so they're very, very touchy about what they're going to believe, what they're going to follow, and they're going to ask way more questions of you than they will, ironically, of the legalese system. It's like they want more proof that this works than they forget that the legalese courts are criminal courts. So there's a whole education process that people are going through here, which I'm going through myself.
They're corrupt courts. Yeah, they're corrupt courts. You're right, but also, again, it's about people taking responsibility for, like, it's like on the Facebook page. It's like there are so many videos on the Facebook page, and then you'll get someone saying, "Oh, I don't understand what that means," and it's like, well, spend some time, you know, looking, you know, don't kind of expect us to spoon feed you all the time. Start to take some responsibility for your level of knowledge and education, you know. And at the same time, don't get me wrong, I'm you know, if someone really doesn't know, and I know that they're new to this and all the rest of it, I'm very happy, you know, to explain, you know, things to them. But this kind of you know, this thing about the trial by jury is just, it's just ridiculous. So I hope that this video lays that, you know, lays that to rest. In terms of myself, I'll be honest with you, given what's going on in society and given what I am now aware of, which I was completely unaware of 2.5 years ago, I am impatient for change. I'm not impatient with educating people, but I am impatient for change, because the way I see it is this: we have the greatest opportunity now to put in new structures. And if we don't bloody do it, they will create something else, something new, and they'll be holding all the cards again. And I do not want that to happen, because I'm thinking not just of, you know, myself, but I'm thinking of our offspring. What's the future going to look like for them if we don't recover what we have basically given away over a century? What's the future going to look like?
We
for
don't
our
deserve
offspring?
a good future, do we? We've got a lot of work to do, and maybe that's another thing with this video. It's actually girding people to action. It's like we can spend the rest of our lives pontificating about whether this is a good idea, whether it isn't, whether we hold community law courts, whether we're going to slag this person off or not, or whatever. Just get on with it. Yeah. I think that's something that all three of us actually agree with. We're all people of action.
We have to use what we've got, don't we? You know, expediency and and make it happen.
That's right. And so what you've done with the community law courts is people could spend the rest of the year slagging it off, but you have stuck your neck out.
It's the best we've got right now.
Yes, this is what we've got. You've created it. More people can jump on board, and we can really, really go with it. And the next video I think we'd like to make is one to get people on board and to show them where we're going, which is the council tax and the justice of the peace.
Yeah, absolutely.